I'm letting everyone in.
Welcome in. Welcome in, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on December 10th from 6 to 7 for the PCEF committee meeting. Next slide, please. So, virtual meeting participation checklist here. Committee meetings are open to the public, and the public's invited to comment at 6:05. Please use the chat box open for introductions and noting public comment interest. All other times, host only chats. That's between PCEF staff. Please raise your hand, used by the committee and presenters only. Video on for the committee and presenters only. Microphone, public members are muted. We will be recording this meeting and captioning the meeting will be provided. So thank you so much to Jamie as our captioner. Next slide, please. Our agenda is beginning with welcome and introductions. We'll do public comment, and then we're going to have the annual CIP review, committee recommendation of climate investment plan amendment. That will be an action item, and so we will need a quorum, and then we will close the meeting. So next slide, please. All right. So I would love for our committee members to introduce themselves quickly. I'd like to start with our chair, D'Angelo. D'Angelo, would you please introduce yourself and then popcorn, kick it over to the next person, please. Pick our next person after that.
Absolutely, I would love to. Good evening, everybody. My name is D'Angelo Boning, co-chair of your PCEF committee. I'm really excited to be here tonight with everybody. I was unable to make the last meeting, so really pleased to be here and to talk more about the climate investment plan and really just share space with everybody. I'll popcorn it over to Andre.
Awesome. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yes.
Amazing. Good evening. Andre Lightsey Walker, PCEF member. I'm super excited for the meeting today and just want to thank the PCEF staff and committee members for being flexible during this season. Really appreciate it. And I will pop it over to Robin.
Thank you.
Hello, this is Robin, PCEF committee member. Sorry, I just got here, so I'm a little disoriented, but happy to be here. Good evening, everybody. And I think Ranfis.
Thanks, hey, everyone. Ranfis, Genentino Viatoro, he, him pronouns, community member. Yeah, also glad to be here. So I think, let's see, who else? I think that's been everyone on the staff side. So I'll quickly get back to you, Dr. Moses.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ranfis. I'm Dr. Christine Moses. I am your facilitator. I'd like to have Sam and then Jamie jump in, pretty please.
Good evening, everyone. Sam Rosso, Program Manager with the Portland Clean Energy Fund team. James.
Hi, everybody. Good to be with you. James Valdez, he, him, on the Portland Clean Energy Fund team. And I will pass it to Rachel, who's also going to provide a little bit of content today.
Great.
Good evening, everybody. Rachel Gilmore, I use she, her pronouns, also on the PCEF staff team.
Fantastic. And we have captioning by Jamie, and Wendy Clues is also here supporting us today. So thank you, everyone. Next slide, please. I'm going to invite us, as I do, to center ourselves just for a minute or two. I invite you to close your eyes or gaze softly down or doodle or whatever it is that brings you into the present moment. I invite you to feel your feet firmly planted on the floor. And to feel the chair supporting underneath your legs and on your low back. Just lean into that support. I invite you to do box breath. And so we're going to do 3 of these breaths. We're going to breathe in for 3, hold for 3, out for 3, hold for 3. And this helps us stay in our prefrontal cortex. It helps us stay centered. So I'm going to invite you to breathe with me. In, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3. Please do 2 more breaths like that on your own. And I invite you, when you're done, to open your eyes and to take a big stretch up. You are here, present in your body at this moment. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Let's go ahead and continue on. All right, public comment. Please indicate your interest in providing public comment by raising your hand or indicate your interest through the Zoom chat function. For those joining the meeting by phone, please enter *9 on your phone to indicate your interest in providing public comment. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you so much. Sahan, I see that your hand is raised. Welcome in.
Thank you, and good evening, members of the committee and staff. My name is Sahan McKelvey. I am Director of Advocacy and Engagement at SEI, Self-Enhancement, Inc., and wanted to take this opportunity just to give comment specifically to say thank you to the committee and to the staff for considering an additional allocation of SP1 funds. We at SEI know that this investment directly advances climate justice for low-income families, especially African-American families who have been historically excluded from these type of benefits. And that is the population that we serve at SEI, where we are a 45-year multi-service organization providing a variety of wraparound services specifically to African Americans who have been disenfranchised in multiple ways in our city. And about 5-6 years ago, we started doing housing development and have been successful at that as a junior partner. In the last 2 years, we have been striking out as a singular developer and are happy that we have a couple of different projects in our current pipeline. We have our Mississippi project that will provide 30 affordable housing units and our Garfield project that will provide 59 affordable housing units. Both of these projects have passed the impact stage of OHCS. Our Mississippi project is slated to begin construction in May of 26. Our Garfield project is scheduled to begin construction in August of 26. We have received state funding reservations for both of these, and they are both fully electric, solar ready, and designed for high performance and low energy burden. We'll be serving families at or below 30% AMI or 60% AMI. We have some 30% and 60% units in both of these projects. And 25% of our units in our Mississippi project, which is the 30-unit project, will be designated for survivors of domestic violence who are at imminent risk of climate displacement. These projects will both be shovel-ready in this coming summer, the summer of 26, and are perfectly aligned with SP1 construction guidelines. These PCEF dollars are critical, and without SP1 alignment with the state funding that we have lined up, then our projects could be at risk. Our Mississippi project specifically is a 9% LIHTC project with a very strict placed in service deadline. So we appreciate that PHB has expressed willingness to work with us on coordinating these funding streams so that our projects can move forward. We are very grateful and appreciative of PCEF for providing this level of funding in the first place. The SB1 funds are critical to us being able to move forward in these projects, and we really want to be effective and successful in serving the overall need of our community for greater access to affordable housing. Both of these projects are shovel-ready and vetted, and not having to recompete and risk delay for this funding would be a blessing. That would be a godsend for us to be able to get these off the ground. So the bottom line is these are real projects ready to build, delivering climate benefits to our African-American families right now. These are not speculative proposals, and SP1 funding will ensure that we're able to move forward on time and deliver the outcomes that PCEF was created to support. So again, just want to say thank you. Thank you to the committee. Thank you to PCEF staff. Thank you to PHB for being willing to create a process that allows these funds to be available in a timeline that allows these projects to go forward. So again, thank you and appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you so much, Sahan. D'Angelo, do you want to comment, or any other committee members?
Absolutely. I grew up in New Portland, born and raised here. I grew up right off of 13th and Killingsworth. As a little Black boy, there were 3 organizations that, after school you went to. You went to Boys and Girls Club, you went to the Salvation Army, and you went to SCI, right? Those are the keystone organizations that have continued to do good work in our communities. As much as I appreciate the thanks for staff, and I won't speak for staff, but as much as I appreciate the thanks for the committee, it's really the groups like SCI and the organizations like SCI that continue to steward the good work in our communities. I have incredible appreciation and gratitude for SCI for continuing to champion work and the construction of homes for our African-American communities here in Portland. So I'm far more appreciative of SCI and for the community members that continue to provide comment and ensure that all of our investments are stewarded and moved towards equitable outcomes for all groups. So I have a great appreciation and gratitude for you just as much. So appreciate you for being here, for providing public comment. Good to see you.
Thank you so much. Any other thoughts? All right, we'll continue to move forward. Next slide, please. Thank you so much for the public comment. We're going to move now to the annual CIP review, committee recommendation of climate investment plan amendment. Sam, I would like to kick this over to you, please. Welcome in. And you're on mute.
I see.
There you go.
I know we're on tight timeline this evening. So one, it's been, I want to acknowledge that the climate investment plan and the idea of creating a plan and operating that plan was very much guided by a lot of our early lessons learned and audit in 2022. We, made that happen in lightning speed. And then we learned that once you adopt a plan, it's not the only thing that happens, that there are other actions, there's desires to shift and change that. And I know we heard loud and clear from the committee around creating a process so that we can better do that in a structured way that engaged community members, that gave folks the benefit of time and space to dive into the content. And so I know this is our first year in doing that, and I want to just give my profound thanks jumping into this, certainly to D'Angelo, to Faith, to Robin, and then obviously certainly the rest of the committee as you all engaged in this. I don't want to say any more. I think what I'll do is I'm just going to turn things over to Rachel to kick us off, I believe, and then I know we'll have discussion on the other side, and I can share my appreciation again then.
Thank you.
All right, next slide, please. Thank you so much. I'm just going to give a super brief overview of how we got to this point this evening. And super quick, since we're on a tight timeline tonight, I want to reiterate the huge thanks to Robin, D'Angelo, and Faith for the time and energy they've put in on the evaluation subcommittee. So this process is really centered around the work of that subcommittee. 9 meetings total between July when we kicked off and most recently in December when they formalized their recommendation to you all as a full committee. And the scope of this project, want to refresh that this was reviewing all 37 strategic programs in the CIP and the community grant cycles. That's at a pretty high level. And then a more intensive review of a targeted subset of programs. Our intent here was to create a replicable framework for evaluation so that annually we have a process where we can incorporate lessons learned, align outcomes and goals, and optimize resource allocations. That's allowing us to be responsive within the CIP 5-year time period and really maximize our climate and community benefit throughout that period of the CIP implementation. So this year especially, limited adjustments based on early program performance. Not every program is started yet since we're early on in the 5-year period, and some programs are really early in their implementation phases. So just want to note that and remind everyone that that's the background of this year's adjustments. Also, a big part of this process is our public comment period. We received total 64 comments that we reviewed a synopsis of last month in November. We heard from organizations, individuals, and agencies, and that gave us some really helpful input that's informed the subcommittee's recommendation to you all as a full committee. So next slide, please. And real quick on timeline here, I'm going to zoom over to where we are in the middle here. The committee meeting this evening, we're looking to have a full committee recommendation. That recommendation is going to City Council. So our next step here will be to prepare materials for council based on your all's recommendation. We also have time in here for a subcommittee debrief next week. It's really important that we reflect on this process and get the subcommittee's thoughts to take with us into next year and beyond, how we can refine this process since this was a first go. And then we're scheduled at the Climate Resilience and Land Use Committee of City Council on January 15th. So everything this going to council will go first to that committee. And then assuming that they send it onwards to the full committee, we're looking at the end of January as our city council date. So I'll leave it there and hand it over to James to briefly recap the package of adjustments that you're considering.
Great, thank you, Rachel. And we'll go to the next slide. And so, yeah, as we're pretty tight on time, I'll try to be quick and go through this, but wanted to just talk about the adjustments that the subcommittee has recommended and that are incorporated into the draft that was sent to you all for adoption this evening, and just really highlight the pieces and areas where there were changes recommended by that subcommittee. And they really fall into 2 strategic programs in what changed between the public comment draft and the draft that you have in front of you today. In strategic program 13, which is the EV financing and EV infrastructure related strategic program, there's just a minor change that allows in the program design that will happen over the next year or so in bringing this this program to the public, and especially to meet the needs of taxi drivers, people working in the TNC space, so Lyft and Uber, and recognizing the shifts that have happened in terms of the federal landscape for EV and EV charging incentives, just broadening the availability of this to also consider other types of incentives, potentially rebates or something like that, but be able to make that broader in the design of the program. Then in strategic program 14, which is focused on access to capital, and was initially written in a pretty broad way, there is a recommendation to shift from the draft recommendation $5 million between the sub-allocations that are effectively between a consumer-facing financing product for energy efficiency and funding to Prosper Portland for a range of specific projects and programs, and to add some evaluation parameters of how pilot projects might go from pilot to full implementation. Then the last thing, and is not actually part of the package that you're adopting today, but is intended to be public information, is we have made changes to the summary document to reflect and capture all of those in the summary accurately. So go to the next slide, and I saw that Anna just joined as well. So we're getting a little closer towards quorum. So to speak more specifically to Strategic Program 14, because this was where there was the most amount of discussion among the subcommittee and perspectives of elements that required modification or were suggested. So the draft that went out for public comment allocated $10 million to consumer-focused energy efficiency and renewable financing, and a total of $35 million to Prosper Portland delivered financing offers for office to residential, commercial property assessed clean energy, and the anchor destination energy efficiency programs. The subcommittee has recommended an allocation of $15 million to consumer energy financing and $30 million to those Prosper Portland focused project or delivered projects. Go ahead and go to the next slide. And to get into just a few more details of some boundaries and design parameters put around, especially the Prosper Portland related allocations, the draft that you have in front of you for voting today specifies that no more than $15 million of funding would be available for kind of an initial office to residential pilot, as well as the anchor destination and property fit commercial programs. And then before any movement towards a more full project rollout, there would be an evaluation, including you all as the PCEF committee, staff in Prosper Portland, to determine what the design parameters would be if it moves forward, and how to maximize the climate and community benefit of a future office to residential program. Also, minor change to make nonprofit entities eligible for loans from Prosper Portland, and recognizing that these changes, both the funding reallocation and the greater specificity and parameters around that allocation, are really responsive both to some pieces that came up in public comment that we heard, as well as those conversations we had with you all as a committee in the last committee meeting, and perspectives of folks on the subcommittee. Then we do have, and this is where I guess I'll ask you, Sam, do we have quorum yet? And should we go through this content to, I guess, have a full presentation here, or do you want to move, if we do have quorum, would you want to move forward with a vote?
Continue moving forward with this content here. Meg will be joining us at 6:30.
Okay, I will try to time my overview here to meet with that then. So then this is just an overview of the specific elements of funding adjustments of the different areas of adjustment that are in the draft in front of you today. And this is just a very high level overview. I'll try to do this in the next 5 minutes. So related to funding adjustments between strategic programs in the climate investment plan, really the funding adjustment is a move of $15 million, which was noted by our guest or our public commenter today from SEI. $15 million from the Strategic Program 13, focused on EV financing tools, which has not yet launched but is in design, to Strategic Program 1, focused on energy efficiency improvements and capital for new affordable construction in multifamily housing. And this is anticipated to be able to provide funding for up to 580 additional new apartments or housing units. We'll go to the next bucket of adjustments. Next slide. So then there's some adjustments that are related to the goals or scopes of strategic programs. And here there's a few that I'll run through. In terms of adjustments to goals, the first is Strategic Program 7, the PBOT Equitable Clean Transportation Access, which includes the Transportation Wallet Program, as well as the Bike Town for All program. And there's some edits here to reflect really the access to universal transportation, and de-emphasizing or pulling out the measured emissions reduction associated with this. We did provide more content and context for this in the updated summary document that you all received. Then in a couple other strategic programs, the Portland Hydroelectric Project relicensing with Portland Hydroelectric Bureau. There's some specific goals added to the work and the milestones of work performed in relicensing process. In Strategic Program 22 for Bureau of Environmental Services, there's a splitting of the different program areas into 7 different sub-allocations with goal measures for each of those areas. In terms of scope refinement, in Strategic Program 7, in the Bike Town for All and the Bike Town program, there's a change to allow eligible fleet upgrades or investments in the bikes themselves to be eligible as costs under specific circumstances with PCEF staff input. In Strategic Program 14, those are the elements I kind of talked about just before. There's a broadening of that scope. There's specificity around the process for evaluating pilot projects and allocations specific to that consumer financing and Prosper Portland split. And then in Strategic Program 29, which is PBOT's bike lane sweeping, there are some additions to allow additional bike lane sweepers to be purchased, as well as additional equipment to maintain bike lanes, in addition to the existing scope, which includes staff. On to the next slide. In terms of technical adjustments in the CIP amendment, there's just an update for accuracy on Strategic Program 25, bringing this into alignment with a shift of funding that you all had made previously a few months ago of funding from Strategic Program 25 to Strategic Program 1, and then also removing a sub-allocation of funding that was for safety and security grants, which was not implemented by PHB. And go to the next, or was not implemented with our money, is the best way to say it. And then the last bucket of adjustments really capture budget decisions that were made by City Council in previous budget years, either this current one or the one last year. In Strategic Program 5, which is our building upgrades for community severe weather response, and a sub-allocation to Portland Parks and Recreation to upgrade 3 different community centers, as well as to do facility upgrades and lighting and light pole upgrades throughout different parks facilities. Then in Strategic Program 26, clarity that a debt retirement offset or costs that would have been potentially incurred as debt related to EV infrastructure investments are deemed an eligible expense in the strategic program implemented by our city's Fleet and Facility Bureau. And then in Strategic Program 34, our large tree protection, care, and workforce development allocation to Portland Parks and Recreation, there were changes made in this year's budget, which moved both some roles and responsibilities as well as funding to the Portland Permitting and Development Bureau. And so that allows for that City Council authorized move to happen within the CIP. All right, that is the summary, and I'm at exactly 6:30, and I think I saw Megan come in. So that moves us then, if you want to go to the next slide.
Yes, thank you so much, James. That's wonderful. So we're going to use a modified consensus decision-making process. I will be asking for a committee member to put forth a proposal for consideration. We'll take a temperature check of each person, each committee member. Then I'll ask for discussion. The committee members can offer amendments to the original proposal. The committee will vote to accept or reject the amendments. And then on the decision, each committee member can affirm the proposal, stand aside, or indicate no. And if you stand aside, that is counted as a decision to affirm the proposed of approving, for the purpose of approving the proposal. Any questions on that? Okay, next slide, please. Ranfis.
Just to clarify here on if there are amendments, does the stand aside, is that like also an affirmation to the amendment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Thank you so much for that. Okay, discussion and draft committee proposal. So I would like someone to make the recommendation amending PCEF's climate investment plan as shown in the draft redlined adjustments to the climate investment plan. D'Angelo.
I would love the honor to do so. I recommend that we amend PCEF's climate investment plan as shown in the draft red line adjustments to the climate investment plan. Thank you.
Thank you so much, D'Angelo. I would like to start with Robin. What is your temperature check?
I'm supportive of most changes. I, to be honest, still am on the fence about SV 14. Yeah, in the interest of time, I'll let other folks talk.
Thank you so much. Ranfis. Temperature check.
Oh yeah, I'm probably a support on this one. You know, I have concerns that Robin has concerns, but you know, I think for the most part, I've not been deep into the weeds on you know, proposal four. I think anytime we make changes, you know, we have to make sure one, is it staying with the true intent with what the strategic proposal was, given that that was how we framed the framework with multiple stakeholders. Um, Two, when we do make changes, do we have some clear checks and balances and oversight? And especially for a pilot program like this, I think that's really important. I understand, I think the importance of meeting our housing goals, and this is an important strategy. I think it's really important that, you know, moving forward for PCEF, that when there are changes, we make those. But again, I'm likely leaning on support at this stage. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Andre, temperature check. Welcome in.
All right. Thanks. Temperature is feeling great. And yeah, big thanks to the subcommittee for all the work in getting in the weeds on this so that it's presentable to us. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Anna, welcome in. Your temperature check.
Hi, I am supportive of this proposal, and I also just want to echo appreciation for the subcommittee and for staff as well. I acknowledge that I had to hop on a little bit late this evening, but having all this material in advance and opportunities to have discussion openly was just really helpful. So thank you for that, and I am supportive.
Thank you. Megan, welcome in.
Hi, sorry about the slow unmute there.
That's okay.
It seems like you can hear me now. And
Yeah.
thanks for letting me join a little late tonight from my work holiday gathering. And I've been following this for a while, so echo my committee members' appreciations for having a lot of time to deliberate on this and for the subcommittee doing a lot of thorough thinking and presenting. I think overall I feel positive. Like Robin, I think I've expressed some like questions about strategic program 14 and the changes being made. Like, do they still fit the intent? Is it something we want to support, or do we want to stick to what it was sent for? So that's the one area I have some ongoing, but hearing this subcommittee was generally supportive of that. That makes me think I'm mostly supportive overall. So thank you.
Thank you, Megan. D'Angelo.
Yeah, I won't take too much time, but you know, as I think about how this process went, you know, there is no perfect process, but I do believe that we as a people tend to generally gravitate towards a universal ideal, so to speak, right? In this process, there were a lot of things that we learned about how we want to see amendments, how we want to see strategic programs move forward, and how we want to ensure, to Ramphis' point, that there are guidelines, guardrails, parameters around ensuring that the programs that we support still serve the mission and vision and purpose of that strategic program. With that being said, I am fully supportive of the proposal and the climate investment plan as it's written. I do also believe, as somebody that was on the subcommittee, that, you know, we are still seeing a lot of these programs take shape and take form. And so there are a lot of data sets that we anticipate getting as these programs roll forward, as we start to see really how successful some of these programs can be. You know, if they're overly successful, how do we reallocate? If they're falling short, how do we support? But I think that in this being the first time that we've gone through this process, that we are still growing towards that universal ideal. I think this was an incredible step. Not to talk too much about myself, but for, my subcommittee members, Robin and Faith, to have really provided considerable oversight and a lot of dedication and attention to ensuring that these programs still meet that vision and that value while having some concerns, still putting those guardrails and guidelines in place so that we can then have that time to adjust and ensure that we are still meeting the vision of what these programs are supposed to do. So I'm in full support, and I appreciate staff for being as agile as they were to accommodate some of the 11th hour changes that we had as we continued to go through to make sure that this was in the best place that it could be for our communities. So I'm supportive, and thank you.
Thank you so much, D'Angelo. Discussion amendments. We have about 4 minutes or so in order to be able to have a vote with the entire quorum here. Are there any discussion or amendments? Hearing none, I would love a decision. I would love each committee member to either affirm, stand aside, or indicate no. So this is for the recommendation to move forward. D'Angelo, your vote.
Affirmative.
Robin.
I stand aside.
Thank you. Thank you. Ranfees.
I affirm.
Very good. Thank you. Andre.
I affirm.
Thank you. Megan.
I'll stand aside.
Thank you so much. Anna.
I affirm.
Wonderful. The stand asides also indicate an affirmation for the purpose of approving the proposal. The proposal has passed. Thank you all so very much, committee. So appreciate this. Next slide, please.
Yeah, huge thanks to all of you. And it's been great working with you all on the subcommittee on this process. And, as Sam said, this is going to be an annual process, and we'll make iterative improvements as we go, and anticipate the next year we'll also have a lot more to review. But in terms of the next steps of this CIP amendment moving forward, just wanted to share what we expect. And in mid-January, January 15th, the CIP amendment will be in front of the Climate Resilience and Land Use Committee. And then tentatively on the 28th, the amendment would be considered by full city council in a first reading, and then subsequent to that, a vote. And so we will work with you all in terms of, opportunities or needs related to committee members being a part of those meetings. But I think that's really, the next steps of what we expect, and just super grateful for all your time in this effort.
Beautiful. Thank you, James. Sam.
I just one, without a doubt, a big kudos to the committee, certainly the subcommittee, for all the meetings. I know that there's always a continual effort to figure out how do we make this get to a place where it's sustainable. And so we're going to continue to work on that, and I'm looking forward to the debrief meeting next week. I think what I also want to just share is just a big applause and just kudos for the team. This was Rachel. Rachel has been stewarding this process and keeping us on rails throughout this, and so much goes to Rachel, just navigating calendars, making sure all the materials are there, getting materials, and making sure everyone is doing their part to get materials ahead of committee members, subcommittee members in a timely manner. So just hats off to Rachel to making sure that was happening as smooth as possible, and that she was wrangling all of us on the team. And then without a doubt, equally to James for equally stewarding this process, and all the others on the team that were engaging in this. So thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Moses. And I think I know folks have other places to be, so I don't need to share anymore.
Sounds good. Next slide, please. I'd like for us to adjourn at 6:41 this evening. Thank you all. And be safe. We'll see you again in January. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Wonderful holiday.